Welcome everybody to the first ever Bardic Benefit Bash. This particular Bardic Benefit Bash is in helping with Dennenwulf. Dennenwulf has been a huge helper and pillar of the Bardic community for many, many, many years in Calafia and Kaid, and sometimes even Atenveld. He goes over there too sometimes. He has been running this thing called the Open Arms Bardic Hall, which gives, not only it gives bards a platform to do their stuff, like say they don't stay up late enough to go campfire wandering, or they're too shy to go campfire wandering, getting up on the Open Arms Bardic Hall stage that is welcoming of everybody is a very helpful thing. And not only that, but people who don't stay up late at night and don't get to hear the bards, they also can come, and basically it's like here's these people who need to perform and here's these people who need to hear them, and that makes them meet, and it's really cool. And he's been doing that for years, and so now it is our turn to give back to him. His septic system needs to be replaced in a very, very, very expensive way to the tune of about 35 grand, and we are here to help raise money to help him. Everybody here is performing just for the sake of bringing attention to his need. And you can find the GoFundMe link in the chat soon. I encourage donation during the show, before the show, after the show. I encourage lots and lots of donation. And I will try my very best to keep an eye on the GoFundMe just in case it blows up in a big way, because that would be super cool if this could really be like a Jerry Lewis telethon and I could be Jerry Lewis. That would be really neat.
Wait a minute, if you're Jerry Lewis, who am I?
Ah, shit. That's right. You're Jerry Lewis, I'm Dean Martin.
It's real.
Yeah.
You're like the new generation of Jerry Lewis. You're like Jerry's kids.
Hey, what?
Oh. I don't get it. That's okay. Let's move on. Quick reminder to everybody, while you are not performing, please put yourself on mute. To do that, there is a little microphone in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Click it. If it has a line through it, that means you're muted, and that's great. But just because you're muted does not mean that you can't show us that you appreciate us. You can do that in the chat. The chat is lower right hand on a phone, lower middle on a computer, and you can just click on that, and there's lots and lots of chatting going on in the chat, so you found that. That's cool. And you can also do jazz hands to show appreciation. That is the universal, or at least at the very least, the ASL symbol for yay, good job. You can also do that. All right, so without further ado, I guess I'm gonna do and get this show on the road.
Wait, doo-doo?
No doo-doo. So this song that I'm going to do is the Cantiga de Santa Maria, number 167. It is supposedly written by Alfonso X, who, according to his PR people, Alfonso X was a very prolific poet and cantiga writer of the Virgin Mary. And at the time that he lived in 1274-ish, he wrote a bunch, like, Spain had everybody in it at that time, which is really interesting because just 200 years later, Ferdinand and Isabella tried to get all the Moors out of Spain. So this was a very welcoming time for the Catholic Church in Spain, and this particular cantiga is a very accepting and loving one, stating that those who do not believe in the Virgin Mary, but those who pray to the Virgin Mary, even though they don't believe in her, will receive her help And this particular cantiga is about a woman whose son had died, prayed to Mary, and then Mary brought him back. Cool. Quien quer que la Virgen fía, ella roga de clemencia, Valeria, pero que seja otra ley en creencia. De esta razón fez miragem Santa María Fremoso, de salas por amor, de porcha e piadoso, a un figlio que había, que criaba muy visoso, y morera muy cuidado, tua muy forte doenza. Quien quer que na Virgen fia, ella roga de clemencia, Valeria, pero que seja otra lei en creencia. Ela con coitado figlio, che se desse non sabia, e viu como as Cristãs iam Santa Maria, dessa lance dos milagres, olho que ela fazia, e de fiar-se na Virgem, viu mi gran atrevenza, e comendo io menino, e quiso sa oferenda, mas las muras sobre questo, ye daban muy gran contenda, mas ela e dis amigas, se Deus me mal defenda, a minha esperança creio, que vossa perfia vença. Quem quer que na Virgem fia, ella roga de clemencia, Valeria, pero que seja outra lei em crença. Que moveu fiose logo, que non quis tardar niente, elevò seu figlio morto, maravilhando sa gente, e pois que chegou às salas, diz a Virgem se não mente, tale da me meu filho, e fareti travenza, finger que na Virgem fia, ella roga de clemencia, Valeria, pero que seja outra lei em crença. Tua noite torrentiera, veloa sia mesquina, mas que fez Santa Maria, a piadosa reina. Ressuscito e esse é o filho, e esto foi muita gina, casa muy gran virtude, passa per toda sabenza, quem quer que na Virgem fia, ella roga de clemencia, Valeria, pero que seja outra lei em crença. Quando questo viu amor, tu ben maravilla fera, que já 3 dias sabia que o filho morto vera, e tornou louco Cristãs, pois viu que eu vivo dera. A Santa Maria é sempre auden gran reverenza, finché che navi pia e arrogate veemenza, valeria che seja totra le crenza. My Galician is a little bit rusty, but there you go. Cool. So next up on the agenda, I have one of my really cool, super awesome East Coast friends who is going to do some.
Wait, before that, are we going to feature a song?
Yes. All right, let's go ahead and tell y'all what the format is. So the format goes like this. Somebody performs, and then we have Vash reciting a sonnet. And then I just remind everybody why we are here. And then, yeah. So I will tell who's next, that they're next, so they can prepare while Vash reads his sonnet.
Oh, that's like smart and stuff. See, I should have known.
Yeah. So next up is Sadie after Vash.
And will I get there? Here we go. And there.
Sonnet 8 by William Shakespeare. Music to hear, why hearest thou music sadly? Sweets with sweets war not, joy delights in joy. Why lovest thou that which thou receivest not gladly, or else receivest with pleasure thine annoy? If the true concord of well-tuned sounds, by unions married, do offend thine ear, they do but sweetly chide thee who confounds in singleness the parts that thou shouldest bear. Mark how one string, sweet husband to another, strikes each in each by mutual ordering, resembling sire and child and happy mother, who all in one pleasing note do sing, whose speechless song, being many seeming one, sings this to thee, thou single wilt prove none.
Aw, thank you, Vash. That was lovely. So, yes, like I said, the reason why we are here is to help Dennenwulf with his house. You are donating just because we are reminding you to, not because we are singing for you. We are singing to remind you. All right, very good. Let's give it away, Sadie.
Thanks, everybody. Should I do my real thing, or should I start with a
Do whatever you like.
It's time for your real thing, but if you
real
can't
thing? We'll do the other thing later.
Yes.
All right. Well, I've prepared, and I say prepared, I'm not fully off book, but a little monologue from Lysistrata, because I just love Aristophanes and I love this play in particular. For those who are not familiar, basically the women say, we won't have sex with you until you sort out this war because it's bullshit, which is delightful. It delights me endlessly. So here we go. Nay, never play the brave man, else when you go back home, your own mother won't know you. But dear friends and allies, first let us lay our burdens down. Then, citizens all, hear what I have to say. I have useful counsel to give our city, which deserves it well at my hands for the brilliant distinctions it has lavished on my girlhood. At 7 years of age, I was bearer of the sacred vessels. At 10, I pounded barley for the altar of Athena. Next, clad in a robe of yellow silk, I was little bear to Artemis at the Broronia. Presently, grown a tall, handsome maiden, they put a necklace of dried figs about my neck, and I was basket bearer. So surely I am bound to give my best advice to Athens. What matters that I was born a woman if I can cure your misfortunes? I pay my share of tolls and taxes by giving men to the state, but you miserable graybeards, you contribute nothing to the public charges. On the contrary, You have wasted the treasure of our forefathers, as it was called, the treasure amassed in the days of the Persian Wars. You pay nothing at all in return, and into the bargain you endanger our lives and liberties by your mistakes. Have you one word to say for yourselves? Don't irritate me, you there. Or I'll lay my slipper across your jaws, and it's pretty heavy. By the blessed goddesses, if you anger me, I will let loose the beast of my evil passions, and a very hailstorm of blows will set you yelling for help. Come, dames, off tunics, and quick's the word. Women must scent the savor of women in the throes of passion. Now just you dare to measure strength with me, old graybeard, and I warrant you'll never eat garlic or black beans more. No, not a word. My anger is at a boiling point, and I'll do with you what the beetle did with the eagle's eggs. I laugh at your threats so long as I have on my side Lampita here, and the noble Theban, my dear Ismenia. Pass decree on decree. You can do us no hurt, you wretched abhorred of all your fellows. Why, only yesterday, on occasion of the feast of Hecate, I asked my neighbors of Boeotia for one of their daughters, for whom I have a lively liking, a fine fat eel to wit, and if they did not refuse, all along of your silly decrees, we shall never cease to suffer the like, till someone gives you a neat trip up and breaks your neck for you. Thank you.
That was lovely.
That was great, Sadie. On deck, we have Movie Matt, and now we have a sonnet by Vash.
Yes.
Sonnet 5 by William Shakespeare. Those hours that with gentle work did frame the lovely gaze where every eye doth dwell, will play the tyrants to the very same, and that unfair which fairly doth excel, for never resting time leads summer on to hideous winter, and confounds him there, sap checked with frost and lusty leaves quite gone, beauty oversnowed and bareness everywhere. Then, were not the summer's distillation left, a liquid prisoner pent in walls of glass, beauty's effect with beauty were bereft, nor it know no remembrance what it was. But flowers distilled though they with winter meet, least but their snow, their substance still lives sweet.
I'd like to point out that that specific video was made after we told Vash to stop overacting. Thought you would enjoy that.
Oh, yeah. For those of you just tuning in right now, this is the Bardic Benefit Bash to help Dennenwulf save his house. And next, for your listening and viewing pleasure, we have Movie Matt.
Ahoy, ye mateys. Can ye all hear me? All right. I present to you today the Ballad of Sir Andrew Barton. When Flora, with her fragrant flowers, bedecked the earth so trim and gay, and Neptune with his dainty showers came to present the month of May, King Henry would a hunting ride. Over the river of Thames passed he, unto a mountain top also did walk for some pleasure for sea to see. When 40 merchants he espied, with 50 sail come towards him, who then no sooner were arrived, but on their needs did thus complain. An't pleased your grace, we cannot sail, to France no voyage to be sure, but Sir Andrew Barton makes us quail, and robs us of our merchantoire. Vexed was the king, and turned him, said to the lords of high degree, have I ne'er a lord within my realm dare fetch that traitor to me? To him replied Lord Charles Howard, I will, my liege, with heart and hand. If it please you grant me leave, he said, I will perform what you command. To him then spake King Henry, I fear, my lord, you are too young. No wit at all, my liege, quoth he, I hope to prove in valor strong. The Scottish knight I vow to seek, in what place soever he be, and bring ashore with all his might, or into Scotland he shall carry me. 100 men, the king then said, out of my realm shall chosen be, besides tailors and ship boys, to guide a great ship on the sea. Bowmen and gunners of good skill shall for this service chosen be, and they at thy command and will in all affairs shall wait on thee. Lord Howard called a gunner then, who was the best in all the realm. His age was 80 years and 10, and Peter Simon was his name. Lord Howard, now Peter, said he, we're bound to sea, to fetch a traitor with good speed, and over 100 gunners good, I've chosen thee to be a head. My liege, says he, if ye have chosen me, or 100 men to be the head, upon my mast I hanged shall be, if I miss 12 score on a shilling breath. My lord called then a bowman rare, whose hands and axe had gained fame, a gentleman born in Yorkshire, and William Horsey was his name. Horsey, quoth he, I must to sea, to seek a traitor with great speed. Of 100 bowmen brave, quoth he, I have chosen thee to be the head. If you, my lord, have chosen me of 100 men to be the head, upon the mainmast I'll hang to be, if 12 score I miss 1 shilling's breadth. Lord Howard then, of courage bold, went to the sea with pleasant cheer. No curb with winter's piercing cold, not curbed with winter's piercing cold, though it was the stormy time of the year. Not long had he been the sea, no more in days, but only 3, till one Henry Hunt he there espied, a merchant of Newcastle was he. To him Lord Howard called out amain, and strictly charged him to stand, demanding then from whence he came, and whence he did intend to land. To him Lord Howard called out amain, and strictly charged him to stand, demanding then from hence he came, and whence he did intend to land. The merchant then made answer soon, with heavy heart and careful mind, my lord, my ship, it doth belong unto Newcastle upon Tyne. Canst thou show me, the lord did say, as thou didst sail by day and night, a Scottish rover on the sea? His name is Andrew Barton, knight. The merchant sighed and said, alas, for over well I do him know. God keep you from his tyranny, for I was his prisoner but yesterday. As I, my lord, did pass from France a Bordeaux voyage to take so far, I met with Sir Andrew Barton thence, robbed me of my merchant war. And muckle debts, God knows, I owe, if every man would crave his own. And I am bound to London now, of gracious king, to beg a boon. Will you go with me, said Howard then, and once that villain let me see, for every penny he's from thee ta'en, I'll double the same with shillings 3. Now God forbid, the merchant said, I fear your aim that you will miss. God keep you from his tyranny, for little you know what man he is. He is brass within, and steel without, his ship most huge and mighty strong. He with 18 pieces strong and stout, he carried on each side along, and he has beams for his top castle, which is also huge and high, that neither English nor Portuguese can pass Sir Andrew by. Bad news thou tells, then said the Lord, to welcome strangers to the sea, but as I said, I'll bring him aboard, or into Scotland he shall carry me.
Huzzah!
Oh, it's still going.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
Beep. The merchant said, if you will do so, take counsel then, I pray withal. Let no man to his top castle go, nor strive to let his beam down fall. Let me 7 pieces of ordnance, then of each side of my ship, quoth he. And tomorrow, my lord, twixt and 7 again I will honor see. A glass I'll set that may be seen, whether you sail by day or night. And tomorrow be sure, before 7 you shall see Andrew Barton knight. The merchant sent my lord a glass, so well apparent in his sight, that on the morrow, as his promise was, he saw Sir Andrew Barton knight. The Lord then swore a mighty oath, now by the heavens that be of might, by faith believe me, and by troth, I think he is a worthy knight. Fetch me my lion out of hand, set up our rows and streamers high, set up withal a willow wand, that merchant like we might pass by. Thus bravely did Lord Howard pass, and did on anchor rise so high. No topsail at last did he upcast, but like a foe did him defile. Sir Andrew Barton, seeing him thus scornfully to pass by, as though he cared not a pin for him and all his company, then called his men amain. Fetch back yon paddler now, quoth he, and against his way he comes again. I'll teach him well his courtesy. A piece of ordnance soon was shot by this proud pirate fiercely then into Lord Howard's middle deck, which cruel shot killed 14 men. My lord called then on Peter Simon, look now, thy word do stand instead, for thou shalt be hanged in mainmast, if thou miss 12 score at shilling's breadth. Then Peter Simon gave a shot, which did Sir Andrew muckle scare, for came so wholly at his deck, killed 15 of his men of war. Alas, then said the pirate stout, I'm in danger now I see. This is some lord, I greatly doubt, that is set on to conquer me. Then Henry Hunt, with rigor hot, came bravely on the other side, who likewise shot in at his desk, and killed 50 of his men beside. Then out, alas, Sir Andrew cried, what man may now think or say? Yon monter thief that pierceth me, he was my prisoner yesterday. Sir Andrew called on Gordon then, and bade him to the top castle go, and bid his beam he should let fall, for he greatly fear an overthrow. The Lord called hoarsely now in haste, look that thy word now stand now instead, for thou shalt be hanged on mainmast if thou miss 12 score 1 shilling's breadth. Then up the mast swerved he, up the mast tree swerved he, the stout and mighty Gordon, but hoarsely he most happily shot him under the collarbone. Sir Andrew called his nephew then, said, sister, sons, I have no more. 300 pounds I'll give to thee, if thou wilt to top castle go. Then stoutly he began to climb, from off the mast scorned to depart, but hoarsely soon prevented him, and deadly pierced him to the heart. His men being slain, then up amain did this proud pirate climb with speed, a more of proof he had put on, and did not dint of arrow dread. Come hither, horsey, said the Lord. See thine arrow aim right. Great means to thee I will afford, and if you speed, I will make you a knight. Sir Andrew did climb up the tree with right good will and all his main. Then upon the breast hit horsely he, till the arrow did return again. But horsey spied a private place, with perfect eye and secret art. His arrow swiftly flew apace, and smote Sir Andrew to the heart. Fight on, my merry men all. A little I am hurt, yet not slain. I'll but lie down and bleed a while. I'll come and fight with you again. And do not, he said, fear English rogues, and your foes stand not in awe, but stand fast by St. Andrew's cross, until you hear my whistle blow. But they never heard his whistle blow, which made them sore afraid. Then hoarsely said, my lord abraid, for Sir Andrew Barton's dead. Then thus boarded they this gallant ship, with right mood will and all their main, 18 score Scots alive in it, besides as many more were slain. Then the Lord went where Sir Andrew lay, and quickly thence cut off his head. I should forsake England a many day, if thou wert alive, as thou art dead. For thus the wars Lord Howard came, with muckle joy and triumphing, the pirate's head he brought along, to present unto our king. Who briefly then to him did say, before he knew well what was done, where is the knight on pirate gay, that I myself may give the doom? You may thank God, then said the Lord, and for men in the ship, quoth he, that we are safely come ashore, sith you had such an enemy. There's Henry Hunt, and Peter Simon, William Horsley, and Peter's son. Therefore reward them for their pains, for they did service at thy turn. The king, he said to Henry Hunt, in lieu of what he hath from thee ta'en, I give thee ennobled a day, Sir Andrew's whistle and his chain. To Peter Simon a crown a day, and half crown a day to Peter's son, and that was for a shot so gay, which bravely brought Sir Andrew down. Horsely I will make thee a knight, and in Yorkshire that thou shalt dwell. Lord Howard shall bear Earl Barry height, for this title he deserved well. 6 shillings to our English men, who in this fight did stoutly stand, and 12 pence a day unto the Scots, till they come to my brother's king high land.
Huzzah! Wow! That's intense there, Matt. Well, thank you so much. Malushka, are you there? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take over some duties. Woot woot. So I would like to take a moment to move to share another Vashi video.
Yes, and on deck, after the Vashi video, we have Elora and the Minitons.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Me too.
All right.
Sonnet number 9 by William Shakespeare. Is it for fear to wit a widow's eye that thou consumest thyself in single life? Ah, if thou issueless shalt hap to die, the world will weigh thee like a makeless wife. The world will be thy widow and still weep that thou no form of thee has left behind, when every private widow well may keep by children's eyes her husband's shape in mind. Look, what an unthrift in the world doth spend, shifts but his place, for still the world enjoys it. But beauty's waste hath in the world an end, and kept unused, the user so destroys it. No love toward others in that bosom sits, that on himself such murderous shame commits.
That was lovely.
Yes, Tobias had a little fun with us. So, in case you were wondering, no, that's not the same black cat. We have two.
Yes, one of them is very smart and intelligent, and you look into his eyes, and all you hear is, "Look at me! Look at how handsome I am! I'm the best boy!" And then the other one, you look into his eyes, and you hear, "Diddly diddly dee, potatoes."
It's true. Well, actually, I feel that diddly diddly dee potatoes is the Malushka response to Tobias's doodly doodly dee chicken.
Yes.
because there is no one who loves potatoes quite as much as you.
Anyway,
They are so good. I actually could use
speaking
potato
of potatoes, I have known these two kids since they were little spudlings. So next up we have Elora and the Minitons.
Hello.
Hello.
We unmuted. We're ready. All right. So we're gonna sing the Rattling Bog for y'all. We're sad we're kind of all separated because I know Yonatan's on there too, but we thought we would jump in, the three of us, and sing one of our old favorites from when these guys were actually little kids. So we hope you enjoy. Ready? Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. In that bog there was a hole, a rare hole, a rattling hole in the bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. In that hole there was a tree, a rare tree, a rattling tree in the hole in the bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. On that tree there was a branch, a rare branch, a rattling branch on the tree, in the hole in the bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. On this branch there was a limb, a rare limb, a rattling limb on the branch, and the branch on the tree, in the hole in the bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. On this limb there was a nest, a rare nest, a rattling nest on the limb, and the limb on the branch, and the branch on the tree, in the hole in the bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. On this nest there was a bird, a rare bird, a rattling bird in the nest, and the limb, on the branch, and the branch on the tree, in the hole in the bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. On this egg there was a bird, a rare bird, a rattling bird on the egg, and the egg in the nest, and the nest on the limb, and the limb on the branch, and the branch on the tree, in the hole in the ground, and the bog of the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh.
On this bird there was a wing.
A rare wing, a rattling wing on the bird, and the bird on the egg, and the egg in the nest, and the nest on the limb, and the limb on the branch, and the branch on the tree, in the hole in the bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Hey ho, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh.
Huzzah!
That was
Enjoy.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I miss you guys.
We miss
we
everybody.
miss everyone.
Mwah.
I have to chime in on that one. I haven't heard that in ages. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have another one for us tonight, or was that what you planned?
That was the one that we could pull together and get planned for tonight.
Not a problem.
Fantastic.
Thank you guys so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Bye now.
Best of luck to you all.
Thank you. So next up, Chrissy is on deck, but first, let us
Forget a little bit more Tobias.
oh, a little more Tobias. Okay.
Sonnet number 10 by William Shakespeare. For shame, deny that thou bearest love to any, who for thyself art so unprovident. Grant, if thou wilt, Thou art beloved of many, but that thou none lovest is most evident. For thou art so possessed with murderous hate, that 'gainst thyself thou stickest not to conspire, seeking that beauteous roof to ruinate, which to repair should be thy chief desire. Oh, change thy thought, that I may change my mind. Shall hate be fairer lodged than gentle love? Be as thy presence is, gracious and kind, or to thyself at least, kind-hearted prove. Make thee another self for love of me, that beauty may still live in thine or thee.
And there you have it.
Oh, that was lovely. Thank you. See,
And
I
that
always-
video was taken after I told Tobias he needs to take these videos more seriously.
Well, I'm glad he took that direction. So Chrissy, or sorry, Sachin, you are up next. What do you have planned for us?
Before we start, can you do a quick reminder of what we're doing this for there?
Yes, we are helping Dennenwulf save his house. This is our Bardic Benefit Bash, and we are reminding all of you to please go to his GoFundMe and donate anything you can, even if it's just $1, although hopefully there's a lot more than just $1, but yeah.
If
Any
you
amount-
happen to be watching this recording, the link will be below the YouTube video.
Perfect. And hopefully we can get that up real quick so that we can help as much as we can and continue to spam the video to everyone. All right, cool. So that being said, Sachin, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, I have 2 songs, if that's cool. And they're from a group with whom I have been friends for over 20 years from the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair. The group's name was Empty Hats. And I was originally wanting to do The Hat Came Back, but I'm having some memory issues because I'm super fatigued. And I can't remember all the lyrics to the song. So I'm going to do Cyrus in the Moonlight instead and Beggars to God, which I have changed the lyrics on. So it is now appropriate. Oh, the hills are full of spirits, and they walk when night comes round, and they speak to who they choose to when the moon is shining down. And Ramona loves the orchard, and Liza loves the pine, and Cyrus in the moonlight loves the flowing of the wine. Oh, Cyrus, trust the spirits, 'cause they fill his life with grace. Yeah, the father of his fathers passed him down that gift of faith. And one night you might hear it like a wailing from above. It's just Cyrus in the moonlight singing to the ones he loves. He sings light-eyed-eyed-eyed, 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 light-eyed-eyed. Well, the 2 girls started dancing when they hear that silken voice. That's when Cyrus asks the moonlight, do I have to make a choice between Liza with her red hair and Ramona with her blues? And with all these gifts they bring me, tell me, how can I refuse? Well, the hills are full of spirits, and they walk when night comes round, and they speak to who they choose to when the moon is shining down. And Ramona loves the orchard, and Liza loves the pine, and Cyrus in the moonlight loves the flowing of the wine. And one night you might hear it like a wailing from above. It's just Cyrus in the moonlight singing to the ones he loves. He sings light-eyed-eyed-eyed, la-da-da-da, la-da-da-da, la-da-da-da. And then the other one.
Huzzah.
The song of minstrel Davy rang delighted through the night. The wise and foolish maiden kept her candles burning bright. Rise up, my young and foolish one, and follow if you can. There'll be no need for candles in the arms of such a man. Make love to each other, be free with each other, be prisoners of love till you lie in the sod. Be friends to each other, forgive one another, see God in each other, be beggars to God. The night was cold and dark and wet as they wandered on alone. The sky became their canopy, the earth became their throne. And as their raiment ran to rags, they thought it nothing wrong. For earth and sky are robe enough when you sing the minstrel song. Make love to each other, be free with each other, be prisoners of love till you lie in the sod. Be friends to each other, forgive one another, see God in each other, be beggars to God. They sang and played the minstrel song wherever they were sent. To some it seemed a dancing tune, to some a sad lament. But in every heart that heard them true, a tear became a smile, and a pub roar a prince became, a wanderer for a while. Make love to each other, be free with each other, be prisoners of love till you lie in the sod. Be friends to each other, forgive one another, see God in each other, be beggars to God. Make love to each other, be free with each other, be prisoners of love till you lie in the sod. Be friends to each other, forgive one another, see God in each other, be beggars to God.
Wow. God, those
Sophie,
notes. That power.
that was
so
great.
beautiful.
So, Ghislaine, you are on deck, but first, does Vashi have another sonnet for us?
Yeah, she does. And here we go.
Sonnet number 12 by William Shakespeare. When do I count the clock that tells the time and sees the brave day sunk in hideous night? When I behold the violet past prime and sable curls all silvered o'er with white? When lofty trees I see barren of leaves, which erst from heath did canopy the herd, and summer's green all girded up in sheaves, borne on the bier with white and bristly beard. Then of thy beauty do I question make, that thou amongst the waste of time must go, since sweets and beauties do themselves forsake, and they, as fast as they see others grow, and nothing 'gainst time's scythe can make defence, say breed, to brave him when he takes thee hence.
So that was just the right amount of drama from the Vash.
Are you gonna do something before I do something? I feel you doing something.
Yes, I wanted to real quickly show everybody this new sonnet that I wrote, because I don't just do music. I'm not just a musician. I do dabble in a sonnet or two. So here is a sonnet. Oh, we have both known love a time or three. A foolish game, 'tis true, played oft enough. The rules of which are known by you and me. A full commitment's what I'm thinking of. No other man could offer this like I. Oh, darling dove, please hear my utterance true. I only wish to shout my thoughts and sigh. Oh, understand, dear, what I say to you. To give you up would surely be a waste. I'll never disappoint you, 'tis absurd. To run around or leave you with most haste would truly vex me deeply, hear my words. I'll never make you cry or bid adieu. I'll never tell a lie, I can't hurt you. And I just wanna tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Thank you, everybody.
And
All
we
right.
all knew not to click on that video, but we clicked on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we are. All right, cool. So,
Lovely.
Ghislaine, you're next.
All right. So, when I first started playing in the SCA, this was the first period song I ever learned. In Dublin, in Dublin's fair city, where girls are so pretty, was there I first heard of sweet Molly Malone. She pushed a wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. She was a fishmonger, and it was no wonder, for so were her mother and father before. They both wheeled their barrows through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. She died of a fever, and no one could save her, and that was the end of sweet Molly Malone. Now her ghost wheels that barrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. And that is all I've had prepared because I'm doing a lot of the producing today.
Oh, that's okay. In lieu of your second song, Sadie, do you have a bad dad joke for us?
Why, it just so happens that I do.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about it today, and what do you call a self-employed spearman? A freelancer.
Oh,
Great.
Theme appropriate.
It was lovely. Do you happen to have another one while I pull
I
the Bash
do.
poem?
I do. You know, once a month I get together with some friends and we just sing songs and practice playing the lute. Yeah, I call it my minstrel period.
Oh no. Oh no.
All right. So next up, after the next Vash video we have, is going to be Ryan. So Ryan on deck, or sorry,
Lord Garrett de Haviland.
Lord Garrett is on deck, and more sonnets for you now.
More sonnets.
Sonnet number 15 by William Shakespeare. When I consider everything that grows, holds in perfection but a little moment, that this huge state presenteth naught but shows, whereon the stars in secret influence comment. When I perceive that men as plants increase, cheered and checked even by the self-same ski, wont in their youthful sap at height decrease, and where their brave state out of memory, then the conceit of this inconsistent day sets you most rich in youth before my sight, where wasteful time debated with decay, to change your day of youth to sullied night, and all in war with time for love of you, as he takes from you, I engraft you new.
Oh, that cat is a ham. Speaking of ham, it would be really cool if y'all would donate some metaphorical bacon to that was the connection I had. I'm sorry, from ham to bacon. I don't know. This is what I'm working with here. All right, donate some metaphorical bacon to Dennenwulf's GoFundMe to help his house so that he can, not be homeless and fix his septic tank. That is a very expensive septic. All right. So next up we have Ryan. There you are. Hello, Ryan. Or sorry, Lord Garrett. Lord Garrett, there you are.
Hello. When warriors talk, invariably the subject turns to honor and to glory. When it goes from glory to honor alone, it tends to go back to the same place, long ago into fabled Camelot, and to one knight in particular, and this is his story more than any other. On the night when the story began, the great King Arthur was celebrating Christmastide, the 12-day period of feasting and jubilation. Christmas Day had just passed, and there was still much feasting to come. Sharing the king's celebrations, as always, were the Knights of the Round Table, the most honorable, the bravest in all the lands. They were renowned far and wide for their gallantry, for their bravery, for their courage, and for their great deeds. On this day, the youngest and least accomplished, in fact he was new to his spurs, was a knight, Arthur's own nephew, Sir Gawain. All were in good spirits and looking forward to a mighty feast. The king raised his cup, thinking of the entertainment to come, and wished out loud they might have some wonderful mystery or adventure to spice up the feast. Before he had time to put his cup back on the table, the knights all grasped in astonishment as they rode into the hall the strangest man they had ever seen. The visitor was tall, and his face was fierce as his arms were strong. His red eyes glowered from beneath great bristly eyebrows, and over his broad chest hung a great green beard as big as a bush. His coat, his hood, his leggings were all as green, as was his horse. The horse's mane and tail were woven with golden threads and bells. In one hand he held a holly bough, and in the other a huge razor-sharp axe, richly decorated in green and in gold. The knights were dumbfounded. The king invited the stranger to join them at the table, but he replied, he had not come to the feast. He had not come to feast, but to prove, once and for all, the courage of the famous fellowship before him. If it is battle you seek, replied the king, I will gladly accept your invitation. No, sire, said the Green Knight. I do not come to fight, but to challenge. I want to know if any man here is bold enough to fetch one blow at me with this axe, on the condition that in a year and a day he shall stand a blow from my hand. And with that, he raised the giant axe above his head. All the knights were silent. No one cared to offer him such an exchange of blows. The Green Knight looked scornfully at those assembled. This is the court of where such mighty boasts are made? Stung by shame, the Queen cried out that he would take up the challenge. You will see, said the king. We fear not your words, nor the sharp steel of your axe. The Green Knight sprang from his horse with a grin, and put the axe in Arthur's hand, but the knights pulled him away, saying this was no challenge for a king. Grant me the chance, begged Sir Gawain. The rash young man was eager to prove himself to his king. This is a game for young men to play. The others backed him, and reluctantly, Arthur withdrew his challenge. Nephew, said the king, take care that you put all your heart and strength into this stroke, so that he can never repay you. The Green Knight smiled grimly. It suits me well, he said, to take a blow from thee, but first you must swear you will seek me out in 12 months and a day, so I can give back what I have received from you. Sir Gawain gave his word, and the giant pulled back his hood and pushed aside his hair to expose his neck. Stroking his green beard, he waited, unconcerned of what was to come. The young man grasped the heavy axe, heaved it high, and delivered with it all the strength of his arm. Down came the razor axe upon the brawny neck, searing through skin, through thick muscle and thick bone, and the heavy head fell to the floor. The giant stood firm, and without flinching, picked up his head and sprang upon his horse. The king gasped in amazement. The queen screamed. The knights fell into stunned silence. As he rode from the hall, head in hands, his eyes fixed themselves on Sir Gawain. I have thy word, he said. Do not fail to seek me out. You will find me in the Green Chapel. The challenge became the talk of Camelot, but as the weeks wore on, other concerns crowded in, and the incident was put from most people's mind. Sir Gawain, however, could not forget, and for him the months rushed past. Soon it was Lent, with its showers and buds, and then the warm sun brought forth the flowers, and next the golden harvest, and all too soon the grass died back, the mists and the snows returned, and the winter fell. The king knew his nephew must keep his promise, and on All Hallows he prepared a feast in his honor. The following day Sir Gawain rode from Camelot on his mighty steed, and many who saw him go could not hold back their tears. No one expected to see the brave knight again. In his search for the Green Knight, Sir Gawain climbed many a hill, crossed marshes and rivers and streams. He battled bears and wolves and serpents. He kept traveling. It was a harsh winter, and the brave knight often had to sleep in the open, pelted by sleet and of rain. He stopped regularly to ask after the Green Knight, but none had heard of such a man. Finally, on Christmas Eve, he found himself lost in a great and mossy forest. He prayed that he may be guided to a place to rest. And as he opened his eyes, he saw in the glow of the setting sun a noble castle on a distant hill. Spurring on his weary horse, he galloped to the fortress. The lord of the castle met Sir Gawain with a hearty welcome. He was a tall and sturdy knight, and Sir Gawain was shown to a beautiful chamber full of rich tapestries. After he had dressed in his best attire, he joined the Christmas gathering. At his table was the lord, his beautiful lady, and many knights and dames. For 3 days they enjoyed the festivals, and then he went on to his host to say his farewells. He explained he must be on his way, for he needed to find a place known as the Green Chapel. His host, however, assured him it was near at hand. Gawain was pleased to hear his journey was nearly at an end, and readily agreed to stay for a further 3 days. His host then offered to enliven the proceedings with a pledge. He planned to go hunting the next day, and offered to exchange what he got in the woods for what in the castle. Puzzled Gawain said he expected to receive nothing, but the pledge was sealed with a friendly toast. The next day the lord went out early. Sometime later, while he was resting in his chamber, Sir Gawain received a visit from the lady of the castle. She did not hide her attraction to the young knight, but he refused her advances. She would not go, however, without giving him a kiss. When the lord of the castle returned with venison, he gave it to Gawain according to agreement. In return, a very embarrassed Gawain embraced his host and gave him a kiss, the only thing he had gotten that day. Who gave you that? Asked his host. But Gawain laughed off the question and they sat down to supper. The next day, at the rooster's crow, his host went out again hunting in the woods, and once more his wife visited Gawain in his chambers. As before, he refused her advances, but she demanded of him this time 2 kisses before she left. This time, the lord of the castle brought home a bear and a goose, and the extremely embarrassed Gawain embraced his host again and gave him the 2 kisses. The next day dawned cold and clear. Off went the lord on his hunt, and once more his wife came wooing her guest. This time she insisted on giving him 3 kisses and offered him her silk girdle. When she refused, she said, "My knight, you must face many foes. This is a magic girdle. It has the power to protect whoever wears it against any weapon." Gawain felt his resolve weaken. As the hour of his death grew near at hand, the fear was beginning to rise in him, and so he accepted the gift. He spent the rest of the day in the company of the stable hands, grooming the horses to ease his mind, but he could not. It was as if all eyes could see right through him. That evening, when the lord brought him only a foul foxskin, in which he laughed heartily, was a poor reward for the 3 kisses that Gawain had given him. Gawain's heart was heavy, for the time was drawing near that he must leave the castle, and he slept ill that night. When the rooster's crows heralded the new dawn, he dressed quickly, taking care to wrap himself in the green girdle, and he bade his host goodbye and set out into the dark and stormy morning. The bitter wind took his breath away. A servant had been provided to guide his way, and together they went by rugged cliffs into the dark moor. As the sun rose, the guide stopped short of the dale winding up between 2 snow-covered hills. The guide pointed to the road. "My lord, that is the road you must seek, but the one who dwells there lets no one pass alive. I beg you, go another way. I will tell no one. I promise, for all the gold in the world, do not venture that way." With a heavy heart, Gawain refused the offer and set down again down the road which was bordered by the sharp banks. Eventually he came to a crag and saw in front of him the overgrown mouth of a dark cave. He tethered his horse to a tree and went inside, and immediately the fearful clattering of rock, and standing in front of the young man was a huge figure of the Green Knight bearing an axe, his heavy, hairy head firmly back upon his shoulders. "Welcome to my abode. You have timed your travels well," said the Green Knight. "Now prepare to make good upon our bargain." Sir Gawain bravely removed his helmet and bent forward, but as the axe raised, he could not help but flinch. "Ha!" said the Green Knight. "He flinches before he asserts. When my head comes off, I cannot put it back on. I cannot put it back," said Gawain. "But I gave my word, and I will not flinch again." Once more, the giant brandished the axe. "Strike and be done," said Gawain. "Have patience," jeered the knight, and for the 3rd time the heavy axe rose into the air. This time the knight did not flinch or cry out as the sharp axe whistled through the air and onto his neck, splitting the skin. For a few moments before a stunned Gawain realized that, apart from a few drops of blood, he was unharmed. He looked to see, leaning on his axe, was not the Green Knight, but the lord of the castle. "My brave knight," said the lord, "I raised my axe 3 times for my wife's kisses. At my request, she came to you to see if you were a true man of honor. The cut on your neck is for the girdle you took but did not exchange, as was our bargain. For that, I feel I have left you much sorer than I could have struck." Sir Gawain, confounded by his own weakness and the generosity of his host, unfastened the girdle and offered it to him. "Keep the girdle," said the knight, as a token of this adventure. The debt is cleared." He made his way home and was greeted with great joy. The scar in his neck remained as evidence of his adventure. As for the lady's green girdle, he wore it as a reminder, should he ever get too proud of his faint-heartedness, of his loss of courage. and all the knights agreed, for Gawaine's sake, to also wear a green belt, as even the bravest man alive, they felt, would have shrunken from such a fate. Gawain went on to many, many adventures during his life, but those, my friends, are another scintillating story.
Oh, you always have me enthralled, Lord Garrett. So good.
That really was good. Thank you so much, Lord Garrett. So next week, because I actually do this every week, Intervision and I, several people here, we do this every week. We either do an open mic night like tonight, but we convert it into a Bardic Benefit Bash, or we do a scripted reading. And next week, we are doing a scripted reading called Scintillating Stories Live. And if you enjoy story time for grown-ups, then I highly recommend that you watch Scintillating Stories Live. It is not necessarily adult in nature, but the people there are adults. But yeah, it's definitely
and the stories are designed for your enjoyment. So, you know, they might involve not so much that they're racy stories, although they could be, but they involve subject matter that you might want to review before you have a child listen to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
PG-13 is how we usually describe them.
Yes, PG-13. So yes, next weekend is Stories for Grown-Ups, Scintillating Stories Live. We have 3 stories for you, as well as a special musical guest who is yet to be named, and also interludes by moi.
Yes. And next week will be 3 different stories. The fantasy story will be Oniropoesis. A coming of age or life transformation story is Whose Life Is It Anyway?
Oh, yes.
And a tongue-in-cheek story called Murder Redo, where a woman fantasizes killing her husband over and over again.
Sadie might be real psyched about that one.
Very good. With that said, Yonatan, you are on deck. And Vash, do you have another sonnet for us?
Actually, today's sonnet, or this sonnet, comes from Tobias.
Oh,
Toby.
Sonnet number 11 by William Shakespeare. As fast as thou shalt wane, so fast thou growest in one of thine from that which thou departest, and that fresh blood which youngly thou bestowest, thou mayest call thine when thou from youth convertest. Herein lives wisdom, beauty, and increase. Without this, folly, age, and cold decay. If all were minded so, the time should cease, and 70 years would make the world away. Let those whom nature hath not made for store, harsh, featureless, and rude, barrenly perish. Look, whom she best endowed, she gave the more, which bounteous gift thou shouldest in thy bounty cherish. She carved thee for her seal, and meant thereby thou shouldest print more, not let the copy die.
So there you have it. That's how Tobias feels about breeding. It might also have been
or against it.
He's for it, according to the sonnets. But more than anything, he was for the chicken we promised him after that video was completed.
Oh. All right. Anyway, next up, we have one of my favorites, Master Yonatan.
Hello, everyone. How are all of you? How many, by a show of hands, although most of you are blacked out right now, have been to Penzic?
Woohoo!
No, never been to Penzic. Oh, there's a hand over there. If for those of you who haven't been to Penzic, they have a newspaper called the Penzic Independent, And if you've ever been there, the little kids go by going, Panzik Independent, only 50 cents. And it's the newspaper for the entirety of the war, and they go over and over and over with it. It's pretty cool. So it's actually really quite nice because they talk about the battles and those kind of things that are going on. And it's a really good way to kind of keep connected. But the only reason is there is a kind of a joke in here. This whole song is about the pen reading the daily news. And for those of you who have seen my son when he was, knee-high to a grasshopper, he used to sing this. Yeah, when he was a little tiny, and it's a much better song when sung by a kid his age, but it's still a lot of fun. So, my old man's a fighter, what do you think of that? He wears a fighter's tabard and he wears a fighter's hat. He wears a fighting tunic, he wears the fighting shoes, and every day at Penzic he reads the daily news. And someday, if I can, I'm gonna be a fighter just like my old man. My old man's a herald, what do you think of that? He wears the herald's tabard and he wears a wide-brim hat. He wears the herald's tunic, he wears the herald's shoes, and every day at Penzic he cries the daily news. And someday, if I can, I'm gonna be a herald just like my old man. My old man's a baron, what do you think of that? He wears a baron's tabard and he wears a nice gold hat. He wears a baron's tunic, he wears those leather shoes, and every day at Penzic someone reads him the news. And someday, if I can, I'm gonna be a baron just like my old man. My old man's the king, what do you think about that? He wears the kingdom tabard and he wears that pointy hat. He wears embroidered tunics, he wears those pointy shoes, and every day at Penzic he makes the daily news. And someday, if I can, I'm gonna be the I'm gonna be the king, just like my old man. My old man's a merchant, what do you think about that? He'll sell you any tabard and he'll sell you any hat. He'll sell you any tunic. He'll sell you any shoes. And every day his children shout, Penzic Independent, only $5.50, including tip. And someday, if I can, I'm gonna be a merchant and sell you my old man. My old man's a stick jock, what do you think of that? He wears the faded blue jeans and he wears a baseball cap. He wears a dirty t-shirt and wears white Nike shoes. And every day at Penzic, he fights. Duh. And someday, if I can, I'm gonna be a stick jock and beat up my old man. My old man's a laurel. Try not to think about that. He wears a completely authenticated, fully documented tabard, and a completely documented and fully authenticated documented hat, and fully and completely documented shoes, and a fully documented everything else. And every day at Penzic, he refuses to read the daily news because he realizes that his persona not only would never get the paper, he was, in fact, illiterate. And someday, if I can, I'm gonna be a laurel and criticize my old man. All right.
Oh, I love a good laurel bashing song. Oh.
Hey, I'm a laurel, I can bash myself. So, all right, now I have a second one. And then if you'll permit me, I have one for the techies, okay?
Well, we love
Is that all right?
We're gonna let that happen. Plus, this is for Dennenwulf, so bring it.
All right. So, you all understand that you make garb, right? All of you? Yes? Who here has not made a costume? Really? Okay. Anyway, this is by a gentleman named Gunnar Redbeard, who used to be down in the south portion of Caid, and I don't know where he is today, but he wrote this. It was just a little bit of trim at 30 cents a yard, about 5 feet with a tattered spot, a clothier's discard. I found it in a pile of reels in a cavanier's display. Well, I'm sure I could find a use. No, I've spent too much today. So put it back. Temptation calls. I'm working way too hard. With all the projects on my plate, I must be on my guard. Oh, What the heck, it sure is nice. And I'll use it up someday. At 30 cents a yard, I can afford it anyway. It was just a little bit of trim at 30 cents a yard. I just can't hold off anymore. Now where's the velvet stored? I'll need an undergarment of a complimentary hue, 10 yards at $19.95. I guess I'll muddle through. Well, I need thread and lace and facing stock and buttons by the card. And then there's the accessories. My checkbook's getting charred. And I'll need some better footwear too. These sneakers just won't do. Thank heavens, there's a sale this week on leather crafting tools. It was just a little bit of trim at 30 cents a yard. But I spend so much time sewing that my ass has turned to lard. This will really be a stunner that a kilt would never wear, so I'll have to change personas and become a cavalier, which means a whole new outfit for the party circuit horde with a fancy drinking stein if I'm to mingle with the lords. And how can I afford to get that set of banquet gear? At 30 cents a yard, the cost is getting rather dear. It was just a little bit of trim at 30 cents a yard. It's 3 a.m. No time to waste. I've never worked so hard. I've got to get this banner. Crown Tourney's on the way. So I guess I'll call in sick tomorrow and work on through the day. Like, you've never done that? Really? I'm developing arthritis and my vision's getting blurred. You say that coronation's over? And 12th night? That's absurd. My friends have all deserted me. They think that I am fey. But this pavilion must get done before the month of May. It was just a little bit of trim at 30 cents a yard. This is damn well best be worth it. They recalled my credit cards. I missed a mortgage payment and my income tax is due, but I got the bastard made. Would it have looked better done in blue? My eyes are red, my hands still shake, my heart is beating hard. They say that I am slightly mad, but I earned my just reward. It's not hard to get in way too deep. It's sad, but often true. But it was just a little bit of trim. What else could I do?
Oh, that was fantastic. Didn't he win an award for that at a competition?
I would imagine so, because it is probably the best thing I have ever heard that just kind of really knocks it home, if you know what I mean.
You will be getting a message from me privately. I need a copy of that. You just brought back so many memories.
No problem. Just send it on over, and I'm happy to send it to you.
Mwah.
Mwah. So, all right, last one. This is for the techies. How many of you do tech support or are a technical type of person, deal with computers, really? Pretty much all of you. No? You don't have to? Well, okay, fine. This is by Da Vinci's Notebook, and the tune is actually period. Working on a laptop close to the end of a job I've been doing since 10:30. I don't believe that it's frozen again. The system has gone down, oh, down, oh, down, oh. I don't believe it's frozen again. The system has gone down, oh. So I took it down to the help desk guy, said, make it better, I'm gonna cry. He said, I'm sorry, your computer has died. The data can no longer be found, oh, found, oh, found, oh. Said, I'm sorry, your computer has died. Data can no longer be found, oh. To the roof with a laptop I did go, over to the edge and I gave it a throw, and when it arrived 7 stories below, it really made a mighty fine sound, oh, sound, oh, sound, oh. When it arrived 7 stories below, it really made a funny fine sound, oh. Well, that didn't do enough to ease my pain, so I went to Dallas and I got on a plane, saying this is all Billy Gates' fault, gonna be a tracking him down, oh, down, oh, down, oh. This is all Billy Gates' fault, gonna be a tracking him down, oh. Touchdown in Seattle and got off the plane, hit Starbucks to get out of the rain, paid all of my dough for a thimble of joe and a foam full of cinnamon, a brown, oh, brown, oh, brown, oh. All of my dough for a thimble of joe and a foam full of cinnamon, brown, oh. When the gates he found out about my plan, packed up his bag, tail and ran. Megaloman took it out of the lamb and hid way underground, oh, ground, oh, ground, oh. Megaloman took it out on the lamb and hid way underground, oh. Well, the gate's been a-running ever since that day. Thinks he can hide, but he can't get away. When I finally find his little skinny behind, gonna kick it all over this town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. When I finally find his little skinny behind, gonna kick it all over this town, oh.
Woo!
That was
Oh,
wonderful. Before we move on to the next thing, I just want to make a real quick announcement that any donation that goes to Dennenwulf's GoFundMe page is completely independent and not because of our songs, rather our stories. Rather, our songs and stories are just drawing attention to his crappy situation, literally.
and where
But
can you find it if you're watching this on YouTube?
you can find it in the down below.
In the down below.
In the down below.
In the description below.
Yeah, that. Yeah, that thing.
Way down, 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 down.
Yes.
Ah, I've missed these shenanigans. And who do we have next up on deck while I grab a furry beast to share a sonnet?
So on deck, while you are preparing the next sonnet, on deck is the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Lord True Thomas Whiteheart. But first, a sonnet.
And a famous sonnet at that.
Sonnet number 18 by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaf hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often in his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lights to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee.
Right?
That was fantastic. I think Vash was just designed for sonnets. Like
Right.
some cats are designed for jumping, some cats are designed for petting, and Vash is designed for sonnets.
Truth.
And Tobias is designed for potatoes. Okay.
And a wee bit of chicken. After this amazing performance coming up, our next poem will not be a sonnet, but one of Malushka's favorite poems that Vash has done.
Yes, because it is by Robert Burns. All right, but anyway, without further ado, let us give a big warm welcome to the wonderful, the man, the myth, the legend, the honorable Lord True Thomas Whiteheart.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me? Wonderful. Well, the story I'm going to tell, I first heard from Eddie Lenahan, who is probably one of the greatest storytellers alive today in Ireland. He's an amazing man, and he knows more about the fairy folk than any of us will ever know. And I heard the story and fell in love with it, and I thought I'd take my running shot at it. A long time ago, it was a poor time in Ireland, and there was a fella. His name was Seamus, and Seamus, he was a basket maker by trade. And as a basket maker, well, you know, he went around making baskets, selling baskets, and so on and so forth. But as he went further around to get the raw materials to make his baskets, he ran out. He couldn't find any of the sally rods that he used to make his baskets. So he took to his bed. And don't you know, his wife came in and saw him lying in the bed and said, "Seamus, what are you doing lying there in bed?" What with the life leaving of my child and us nothing to eat and 7 hungry children, how dare you? And he looked and he says, and what can I do? There are no Sally rods. Seamus McLaughlin, you get your arse out of that bed and go out and find some Sally rods and make some baskets, or I will have my brothers on you. Now, I have to tell you something about her brothers. Her brothers are the big muckle gowks, oh my goodness, as big as Don Dennenwulf himself, you know, big hairy fellas that came in through a door and their knuckles came dragging in a couple of minutes later. They were big, hairy, ugly sorts of fellows, not the kind of people you'd want in common company. And the threat of them did scare him, because once they did in fact come in and grab him and shove him out the window, and this is one of those small cottages. It was a big bed and him as well, right through that tiny window. It was a painful thing that he doesn't like to talk about, and we won't go there. But in any case, Seamus turned to his wife. He said, and what can I do? There are no Sally rods. She looked at him, she said, Now she put her hand on her hip. And when a Celtic woman puts her hand on her hip, you might as well go to war, because it's a battle you're going to be having. And that woman looked at him and she said, what about Paul na Hearse? Now, you know, and I know, and Jonathan knows, that Paul na Hearse was famous in that part of Ireland as a place where dark hearses, the kind pulled by black horses with eyes of flame and skeletal riders with the reins, would pull up and drive into this gully, this area, this darkness, this crevasse. And so everybody avoided Paul na Hearse, the place of the hearse. And he said, what do you want me to do, woman? Go to a place where the dead frequent on a regular basis. And she says, you'll see death soon enough if you don't do something to fetch some livelihood for our children. What was there to do? So he packed himself a bit of food in a wallet, what little there was left, and he picked his knife up and he picked some twine up and he made his way to Paul na Hearse. And when he got to Paul na Hearse, it was a cold and wishly day. Can you folks make that sound with me? It was a bit damp. There you go. You know, don't you know Ireland, the cleanest country in the world? We wash it every day. And so it was. He looked down into Paul na Hearse, and sure enough, it was full of Sally rods, green and lush. And so he climbed his way down. It was a trail that could break a snake's back. And he got down there and he looked around and he crossed himself 3 times in the name of the 4 Mandermarvins. And he looked around and he went, because he didn't want to annoy the good folk or the dead folk or any other kind of folk for that matter. You see, the McLaughlins had a long history of being storytellers, not warriors. And so they could talk a good battle, but they weren't the ones in them. And so he reached out with his knife and he pulled a rod. He looked around, nothing happened. He reached over and grabbed another one. Nothing happened. He set it down. 3 times the charm. Nothing happened. Oh my goodness. A big smile started to go across his face. He started reaching out and cutting away. Pretty soon he had a great big pile of Sally rods and he was tying them up, and he stopped for a bit of lunch and he started eating his little bit of lunch. And don't you know, right in front of him, there was a little wisp. A wisp of mist. Well, it's Ireland, you know. It's liquid sunshine. And so he kept working, but more and more wisps of white started to appear around him. And pretty soon, for all the world, it was like he was in a bottle of milk. You know, the whole milk, not that thin stuff. And so he started getting a little bit worried, and he finished his second bundle, and he decided he was just going to climb out a little bit and take a look around. So he climbed up the side. He had no idea where he was. And he had lived in this area all his life. So he climbed out. What did he see but an Irish longhouse? The old style with the doors on one side and the doors on the other side. And, you know, the half doors too. And so he made his way over to the house. Didn't know where he was. There was an old style well over there. He knocked on the door, and the top door opened. And what did he see? But an old man and an old woman. Never seen him before. And the old woman looked out and she said, "Is that you, Seamus McLaughlin? Oh, I know your father well. Cade Millfalcha, 100,000 welcomes. Come in, come in, come in." And so they brought him in, and oh, don't you know, they gave him a nice Irish meal. Oh, the black pudding and the colcannon and the cheese and everything. Oh, it'd give you a heart attack just to look at it. And he swallowed it all down with the pint of the good stuff. And as he was sitting there by the fire, the old man and the old woman both put pipes in their mouths, and they turned and looked at him and said, "No. You have to be telling us a story. It's the duty of a good guest to tell a story in Ireland." And he said, I don't know any stories. And she looked at him and she said, "How is that possible? You're McLaughlin, a Scintillating, a Shorty. How can you not know a story?" He says, I just don't, I wasn't paying attention. I didn't think it was important. The old woman looked around, she grabbed the bucket and she handed it to him. "Fine, if you serve no purpose, if you can't entertain us as a decent Celt should, go and fetch us some water." And she puffed her pipe and the sparks flew, and the man did as well, and their eyes glinted hard like obsidian. And so he walked out and he went to where the well was. And this is one of the flagstone numbers, you know, with just a bit of a winch. So he hooked up and sent the bucket down. He started to crank it up, and as he started to crank it up, the wind started to come up. And then he took the bucket and he set it on the ground, and the minute he did, can you guys make that sound with me? A wind started to pick him up and swing him around, arse over tea kettle, left, right, upside down, and every which way. Whoomp! And he landed back down. The bucket was gone. I can't even get a bucket of water. I'm so useless. He went back to the house, knocked on the door, and the top door opened up. And it was entirely different inside. There was a widow woman in widow veil, and 2 rows of the biggest, darkest looking men he'd ever seen in his life, all dressed in black, with black hats and black eyes. And he looked. He said, "I am terribly sorry." And she said, "Oh, thank you so much for coming. It would mean so much to the dearly departed." And she stepped aside, and there on the table was a dead man. And he'd never seen that dead man before in his life. And she said, "It would mean so much. Come in, come in, come in." Well, you don't refuse a widow at a wake. And so he went inside. And she said, "Well, now for the preachifying." And one of the big men stood up and said, "Aye, we should find a preacher to say the words." And why would you need to find a preacher when the finest reverend in all of Ireland is right here, Seamus McLaughlin? And he looked and went, No. You have me confused with somebody else." And she says, "Oh, I don't think so." And she took a bishop's stole and he put it around him, and she put the good book in his hands. Now, I remind you, Seamus McLaughlin had only been in church twice in his life, and neither by choice. And so he was holding the good book and he was about to make the run for it when all of a sudden out of his mouth came the most beautiful Latin you have ever heard in your life. "I play dominoes, you play dominoes, we all play dominoes." And out the Latin curled and rolled, and the big men all nodded, and the woman wept. And the men stood up, and the biggest man walked over and clapped him on the back and said, "Ah, Father, yeah, grand job with the speechifying. Oh, such a grand job. Good job. If you ever want a church, if you ever need a kirkin, we'll do you." He said, "Thank you so much." And he handed back the stole and the good book, and he started to make his way out the door when the big man said, "Right, now we need a fiddler for a bit of dancing. Can't have a wake without some dancing." And he was like, oh, good. He was about out the door. And she said, and why would we need a fiddler when the finest fiddler in County Clare right here, Seamus McLaughlin? And he went, oh, no. But the big men dragged him back and they put a fiddle in his hand. And the minute he put the bow across it, he started playing. Oh my goodness. The music rolled out of the fiddle, and the big men started to get up and they hooked arms. They started to dance big clumping dances. You know, the box sets, there was only one woman, and she wasn't in much of a mood. And the dancing and the tromping and everything, and pretty soon there were big pools of sweat on the ground. Oh my goodness. And pretty soon he was so tired, and the big men came over. Oh, you're gonna kill us. Enough with the fiddling. Oh, such a grand fiddler. If you ever need a Kaylee, if you ever need to come to a party, you're the man. Not wasted upon you was your teacher's learning. He went, thank you so much. And he handed the fiddle back. And he was just about to make it to the door when the big men said, right, he is not getting any fresher. Let's put him in the ground. Let's get him in his coffin. And a bunch of the big men grabbed the big coffin. They grabbed the dead man and they tried to slide him into the coffin. But there was a problem. You see, the big man was about a foot too long for the coffin. And it was a big coffin. They said, well, that's not going to do. And Seamus, he held up his hand. He said, you know, you could just kind of bend him a little bit. No. What we need to do is we need to cut a foot out of this man's legs. Oh, Mr. McLaughlin started to run for the door. The biggest man said, if only we had a doctor, and the young lady said without missing a beat, don't you know we have the finest doctor, the finest doctor in all of Ireland right here. Seamus, come on over. And they grabbed him and they brought him over and they put the dead man back on the table and they handed him a saw. That's right. You thought you were going to get away free without a bit of gruesome? I think not. Everybody, grab that leg and let's make sawing noises. Now down by the ankle. Here we go. You know, Danielle, you're a little too good at that. All right, and now to the other side. Get the other leg. All right, and then on the other side. Miss Ghislaine, I think you've done this before. So with that, he took the foot and there was the knee and he just kind of tapped it and it just stuck. And so he had an extra pile of leg and he threw it to the dog that was under the table and the dog went, ran off with the leftover legs. And so they put the dead man back in the coffin and they fit a treat and all the big men started to pick it up and they marched out the door. And as they marched out the door, what do you know? They said, you have to come with us. We got to see him in the ground. Now in Ireland, they have a saying, don't be in a hurry to see me gone. And so it is tradition that you march the corpse 3 times round the grave, 3 times round the graveyard. And so the big men went down and they were crying and a sobbing and a sniffling. Can I have some sobbing and sniffling, please? Oh, it's so well done, so well done. And then they finally get to the graveyard, but as they're going around and going around and going around, he looks, there's no gate to get into the graveyard. He's never seen this graveyard before. And pretty soon the big men are like, whoop, 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 whoop. It was like a circus act. They got up to the top of the wall, and the biggest man helps the little beautiful the widow up in her widow garments, and she lowers her down on the other side. And all the men look down, and there's poor Seamus with the coffin. And the big man said, "Right, hand it up." Oh, Seamus, he was maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, but he reached down and he tried and he lifted. Everybody help me. I'm not going to be able to do this for myself. And they pulled the coffin up and they pulled him up with it. And the big men handed down the coffin and the coffin was making its way to the grave. And Seamus was standing there in the wall looking at all the graves. The big men put the coffin in the grave. And just at the last minute, one of them slipped, and the coffin lid flipped open. And what did Seamus see in the coffin? But his own face. And with that, a she breeze, a fairy wind swept up and around him. Everybody help me. Hey, trans dimensions are not easy. And then boom! He was back by the well again. The bucket was there. He reached down, he picked up the bucket. He went back to the house. The door opened up and there was the old woman and the old man. Well, it's taking you long enough to get some water. Come in. And they brought him in and he set the bucket down nice and cool and neat as you please. And they sat him down. They said, it took you an uncommon long time. What happened? Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I was out there and then the woman and then the fiddling and then the preacher playing and then the cutting the legs off and the dog. And then they met my own face. And the old woman, the old man turned and looked at him with eyes green and red. And the old woman said, well, Seamus McLaughlin, it seems you have a story to tell after all. And with that, do you know what happened? He went to sleep in their house on a pile of furs. The next morning he woke up and he opened up his eye and it was a bright sunny day. He opened up his other eye. It was a bright sunny day there too. He climbed up the side of pulling the hearse and he ran home so fast that as he went around the corners, his back pockets filled up full of dirt. The clods flew behind him like swallows in flight. He flew into his house and into his bed, pulled his covers over his head, and not threat of preacher, revenuer, or even her brothers would get him out of that bed for 2 solid weeks. But let me tell you something. In Ireland, it is tradition. If you ask somebody, if you hear somebody say, oh, you need to go there, the crack is really grand. They're not talking about something you put into a pipe and smoke. What they're talking about is the art of conversation, the art of music. It's getting together and joining in song and story, just like we do at SCA Fires. The crack is grand. Well, I have to tell you something. After that, Seamus went to the pub and he had himself a pint. And people loved the story. And slowly, the stories he had heard from his father and his grandfather and his mother and his grandmother and his uncles and aunts all started to come back to him. And they used to call him, Seamus McLaughlin, the man who had no story.
Woo! Never let you be known as a man who doesn't have a story.
Oh, that was so great, True. I have heard you do that one before, but it's
I've
still
repeated
good.
myself? No!
I definitely remember Seamus with the story within a story within a story. It was great.
I have to ask, did that twinkle in your eye that just happened at the end, is that some sort of magic you just did, or did it happen by magic on its own?
Well, I'm just saying that at this time of year, my powers are slowly growing.
It's true.
Yes.
It's true.
Because in addition to being one of the best storytellers there is, True is also the big man in December.
I find that hard to believe.
Yes. One of the best, the big mans.
So one thing I would like to add, if I could, real quick.
Yes, please.
So Dennenwulf and Belisette are both members of True's crew, and they have helped with Open Arms Bardic Hall and kept it going for many years at much expense to themselves, and also helped with the Bardic concerts, and they have been the strong right arm to the Bardic community, helping make a stage something we desperately need. And not only that, but Dennenwulf himself, with his technical knowledge and his musical skill has traveled to all sorts of other events, you know, Dickens festivals and cons and fairs and so on and so forth. And he has always been one of the most giving people. We could call him Dennenwulf of the long arm because he is always reaching out to help others. And so if we can reach out and help him, the last thing we want to see is him homeless, because honestly, he's looking a lot like Santa Claus himself, and we don't need that.
So more crack and less crap? Is that what
Yep.
you're saying?
So if we could, tell everyone you know to reach into their pockets, pull that coin out that's squinting for the light of the sun because it's never seen the light. I swear some of these people in the SCA, you'd swear they got into the wrong trousers. I want you to tell everybody to reach out and throw a few coins this man's way so we can stop him from you know, being that crazy man wandering up and down the street, cursing everybody and saying, I just need a crapper to crap in. So with that, I'm going to bow out, but I just want to say thank you for everyone putting this on. Thank you so much.
You know we love you.
And I thank you so much. You said it way better than I have been trying to say it, so thank you for that. And also, I really like that you mentioned crack, because we have a story in Scintillating Stories called A Little Crack. And it's about a set of blind dates set in an Irish pub, and the bartender at the Irish pub tells this girl who has never even heard of Ireland probably all about crack, and well, the whole story is crack.
It certainly is. It's a lot of crack, isn't it there? And on that note, I have another poem for you.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not from Tobias there, it's from Vash, but I'm going to introduce it as Tobias.
Oh, I think that's appropriate.
Okay, everybody. I hope you enjoy this pet poetry from my favorite brother and the one who beats me up at night.
The Banks o' Doon by Robert Burns. Ye banks and braes o' bonny Doon, how can ye bloom so fresh and fair? How can ye chant, ye little birds, and I so weary full o' care? Thou'lt break my heart, thou warbling bird, that wantons through the flowering thorn. Thou minds me o' departed joys, departed never to return. Aft have I roved by bonny Doon, to see the rose and woodbine twine, and ilka bird saying, oh, it's love, and fondly so did I a mine. With a lightsome heart, upon the rose, full sweet upon its thorning tree, and my false lover stole my rose, but he left the thorn with me.
So he was literally made for this, I think. Oh, Malushka, there you are. Oh, unmute yourself, sweetheart.
Sorry, I was chatting to Beth, who is here just in time to get under the wire, and I can't wait to see what she has prepared for us.
Okay. Yes, I just made it. I have to fix the volume on my stuff. So, un momento, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I can just take the time to
Okay.
Oh, all right.
I think I'm good. All right, cool. This is just a song that it's by Steel Ice Band, and I love it. So I'm gonna sing it for you. I hope the volume's okay. Around my hat I will wear the green willow, and all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I'm wearing it, it's all for my true love, who's far, far away. Fare thee well, cold winter, and fare nothing have I gained, but my own true love I've lost. I'll sing and I'll be merry when occasion I do see he's a false, deluding young man. Let him go, farewell he. The other night he brought me a fine diamond ring, but he thought to have deprived me of a far better thing. But I, being careful like lovers ought to be, he's a false, deluding young man. Let him go, farewell he. And all around my hat I will wear the green willow, and all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I'm wearing it, it's all for my true love who's far, far away. Here's a quarter pound of reasons and half a pound of sense, a small sprig of time and as much of prudence. You mix them all together and you will plainly see he's a false, deluding young man. Let him go, farewell he. And all around my hat I will wear the green willow, and all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I'm wearing it, it's all for my true love who's far, far away. All around my hat I will wear the green willow, and all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I'm wearing it, it's all for my true love who's far, far away. All around my hat I will wear the green willow, and all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I'm wearing it, it's all for my true love who's far, far away. Yay, thank you for letting me do that. Yay!
Woo! After a long day, it was wonderful to have you join us. Yay!
That was great. I have another one prepared, but I kind of want to end it with that if no everybody else.
Oh, we always end on you, my dear. We always end on you. Although I do have one more pet poetry.
One more pet poetry? All right.
And it's not me this time. It's not me.
All right. Let's give us one more pet poetry then.
Okay. Look who it is.
Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borgoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jab-Jab bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came.
1, 2, 1, 2, and through, the vorpal blade went snicker snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, calloo, calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the weeb. All memsy were the borgoves, and the momraths outgreeb.
That ear.
Right?
His ear.
It's constant with him. That ear is always flipped.
Oh, the poor baby.
And special
doesn't care.
credit to Lord Garrett de Haviland or Ryan Phillips for how well he times these recordings to the videos. He is a genius.
That was really great. So I actually don't know what to do for the last number. I had prepared the little barleycorn, which is an old, an English one. But I also have a couple of filks. One of them is Disney related and one of them is not. And so I don't know, what do all of y'all want?
Oh, I can't decide. I'll let other people vote. Get on the music.
Oh, looks like Lady Sadington wants Disney and Selene wants Disney. All right, I'll give you Disney. Let's see what I can do for you. So I wrote this song about Vikings to the tune of Under the Sea. So here we go. The land to the south is greener, and the people are very nice. The folks over here are meaner, 'cause our land is full of ice. So climb on aboard this vessel and sail the whale road with me. We'll find some freaks to wrestle and go on a shopping spree. Out on the sea, out on the sea, we'll find us a village that we can pillage mercilessly. Grab all the gold out of the church, head back to the longship with the merch. Why would you trade it when you can raid it out on the sea? Stupid thing. The Viking at sea is happy as over the waves they roll. The Norseman back home ain't happy, 'cause farming is pretty dull. But we got a crew that's hearty. We'll clear out a big dance floor. We'll have a raiding party like it's 944. Out on the sea, out on the sea. You grab your axe and I'll grab my sax. We'll make harmony. Below the deck they pull the oars while we sail away to foreign shores. Let's go to Gotland or maybe Scotland, out on the sea. Old Froon sing a tune, Canute play the flute, Trig dance a jig and is pretty cute. Bjorn play the horn that sounds all forlorn, and Carl is the Jarl of Soul. We'll plunder the town and then burn it down, then signal the ship to swing back around. We'll eat all the food and steal all the loot. Next year we'll come back for more. Out on the sea, out on the sea, we'll find us a village that we can pillage murderously. This Viking lifestyle ain't too hard. We make a sweet Varangian guard. We'll put on a show in Constantinople, out on the sea. Let's go to France and steal underpants, out on the sea. We'll go to Gotland or maybe Scotland. This is a nice land. Let's call it Iceland. Why would you trade it when you can raid it out on the sea? everybody. Thank you. And don't forget, donate. Help Dennenwulf save his house. Get him out of a shitty situation.
Help be troop scoop the poop.